Welcome back, folks. Welcome to this week's episode of Wisdom on Tap, the number 84th podcast in the whole of Brazil.
Brazil.
True story. I don't know who you are in Brazil. Listen to us right now, but we love you. Reach out. Drop me a line. Come on. Hit me up. Drop me a message.
Any Brazilian there? You say anything to them?
Any Brazilian?
Portuguese, in it?
Obrigado. Obrigado. Isn't that thank you?
Depends who it is. Obrigado.
Obrigado. Portuguese, isn't that? Obrigado. I'm saying it obrigado. It's, I don't know what I'm saying, but that's Portuguese, I'm sure.
Obrigado. Obrigada.
You know some Portuguese.
No, I don't, mate.
You say I love Portugal.
Sagres, mate. Give us a bottle of Sagres. That's my Portuguese.
Portuguese, obrigado. Anyone listening in, if you could just confirm what that is in the comments, possibly. If you're on YouTube, you can comment along. Just let me know. Let me know if you're from Brazil. Let me know if I got that correct. But we love our Brazilian support. I can't wait to do the tour out there, the live. We'll be like, like the Queen did a huge concert out there. We'll be like that.
To be fair, mate, if you do go, I want to come to Brazil, man. I want to be
global.
Involved. I know it's you and like Ben, but
play volleyball.
I want some of that, mate.
You want some of that?
Yeah, I'm going to Brazil. If you go to Brazil, I'm coming to Brazil.
Cool.
So
anyway, today, Dave, we've discussed some cool things. One of the things I'm really interested in talking to you about, I've really enjoyed what we've done actually so far, is being a man.
Being a man.
Why do we both put that exercise? You're being a man.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot of conversations now I see in my space about what is a man. There's a lot of people who are going to tell me what a man should be, what a man shouldn't be. Men are going to tell me, women are going to tell me. That's the only two sort of things I'm going down there. So men and women.
Yeah.
But
let's stick with that.
Yeah, I think we discussed mental health in the last episode. I've got the pressure of that clock behind you. I just realized I've been paused for 5 seconds. We discussed the pressure of mental health, and we discussed actually on one of the comments I put a post out, what's the biggest issue in mental health? The chap's put, and I haven't read the whole comment, so I can't add context or add any opinion, but it's basically touched upon, I think, it's the rise of feminism, for example.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I necessarily 100% wholeheartedly agree with something like that. But there does seem to be a lot of friction and a lot of stuff going wrong around the difference between men and women, and how men feel suppressed or repressed or whatever. And there does seem to be this melting pot of stuff, hence the rise of people like Andrew Tate. And men certainly, it seems like young men especially are kind of confused about there's toxic masculinity. There's all these things, isn't there? All these terms. I don't even know what half of them mean, where you're like, well, what's going on here? So I suppose I'd love a conversation about men in general.
So
he's just smile on his face then, Mark. Do you see that?
But it's funny because...
So I'm just about to unleash a tirade of man stuff. I've got my little smile on.
It's funny how the world we live in, because you mentioned Andrew Tate then. And I was asked a question, I think it was earlier this year, last year, by this random lady in a pub. She said, do you like Andrew Tate? And I said, well, I'm kind of 50-50. I think half of it's a load of bollocks, and half of it, I kind of agree with what he's saying, She ignored me. She just went, I am not speaking to you anymore. And I stood there going, oh.
What sort of fucking pubs do you go to?
Yeah, it was bizarre. Yeah, it was a bit of a bizarre night, to be fair, because it was quite a quiet pub as well at the time. And I was just like, hold on a minute. You've just come and asked my fucking opinion. And because I've said I like 50% of what he said, you're now going to ignore me. Well, I didn't really give a fuck. But it's interesting because there is going to be that division with everyone. And I think there's been a lot of talk around, how men should act and shouldn't act, and how women should act and shouldn't act, and all this sort of stuff. And I just believe it comes down to your own individual opinion. For me, a man is someone that...
well, that's not a man. What's a limitless man?
Limitless man. Limitless. I think for me personally, if I'm looking at myself as a man, like a husband, a dad and stuff like that, I want to be able to look after myself physically, look after my family physically, provide for them, financially, loving, caring. I want to be someone that they can look up to, respect. And I think respect comes in as a man as well. But also now, where I would have gone against it years ago, you know, just be as fluffy as it sounds, like in touch with myself, you know, like with how I feel.
Sorry, you said in touch with yourself.
Yeah, no.
Not touching yourself.
No.
I just had to get that across. For a minute there, I thought you
he
said...
likes these, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? Bless him.
I thought you said touching yourself.
But
I like
it's,
to be touching myself.
in
I mean, in
touch-
touch with myself, in touch with myself.
In touch with myself, yeah. And I think that's a big thing, because I think that's where a lot of shit goes wrong. If you can't control your emotions, say, or you're not willing to accept how you feel. And I think, but also I think there is a lot of pressure on men that they shouldn't feel X, Y, and Z. And at the end of the day, you've said it before, you hear it said all the time, it's all right for men to cry. It's all right for men to say they're sad. It's all right for men to be depressed, but they're not allowed to be angry. They're not allowed to show emotion. They're not allowed to say, do you know what? I am fucked off with this, whatever it may be. And then it's, oh, you're angry. Yeah, well, actually, I am fucking angry. I'm angry at the world.
If there's one thing we've clarified through some of the episodes, you used to be angry.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But it's almost like that's not allowed. And
It's also I think sometimes it comes across like people think the display of anger is almost archaic in a way, isn't it? It's like that's too much masculinity in somebody when they're angry, or we think of anger sometimes as aggression. I think they're two different things.
Yeah, I think
people
so,
closely relate to that, don't they?
I think there's controlled aggression.
Yeah, I think you should. I think we discussed this in our coffee. We were like, oh, you know what little Ari.
Yeah.
What would you do if that boy tried to hit you? Tell the adult.
Douche.
All right. What if the adult isn't there? But what if there's no adults? What do you do then?
Yeah, man.
And unfortunately, you're probably gonna have to sort that out, aren't you? Like otherwise, you're gonna be sorted out. You never instigate something like that, but what do you do there? But then there's a moral question: is it people? Oh, that's terrible. Is it?
So
What would be less terrible then? Allowing somebody to beat you up. Well, is that good? Or is the ability to stop that happening actually probably a useful capacity to have in your life?
Yeah. So for me, personally, just speaking out loud, you know, I've spoken to people in my life, you know, they've never had a fight, they've never been in trouble, they wouldn't know how to fight or anything like that.
Great though, if you never had a fight.
I think that's wonderful.
It's brilliant. If you can avoid it.
Yeah,
God, we wouldn't want to avoid it.
And then you hear things like there's never a need for violence and all stuff like that. And again, if you look at life, you think, well, maybe they got a point, but
I'm going to interrupt you. That is a naive
way of looking at it.
Way of looking at life.
Yeah.
And that is generally, no offense, a female's view of it. There's no excuse for violence. There's no place for violence. You tell that to somebody in a repressed fucking world, say, where the only thing you may have is when you're being abused or something in any way, like there's always context and that to say there's never a time for that.
It's bullshit.
For me is naive.
Naive is probably a better word.
It's isn't it? It's naive to think that.
Yeah, no, I do think it's naive.
I have a girl and a boy. There would definitely be a time I think, okay, yeah, you, the controlled use of some form of violence would be useful. If you're just going around beating people up for no.
Yeah.
Last resort, yeah. But the ability to say there's no time for it is just a naive way to look at the world.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think again, it comes down to that environment thing. You know, I was in an environment for a long time where, you know, there was violence and aggression. You know, and at times I did need it. At times I didn't need it. Do you know what I mean? But I think that environment side of it. But I think
so to pin this back to we're talking about men, and I think some of the issues men face then, because we're certainly going to have some female guests coming up on here very shortly, and I'm going to be talking about, God, what's some of the issues females face? I don't know why we have to kind of make everyone the same. I think there is a difference in issues that people face based on your sex. I know that because we coach men and women in Unbreakable, and there is certain specific issues that everyone faces, of course, but you could say there's some similarities between the females, some similarities between males. in the things that maybe bother them, upset them, the things they struggle with,
Yeah. But then
the pressures they feel.
but there is also huge differences.
Yes, similarities, but
'cause-
huge differences in the pressures the common man feels to the common female.
Yeah.
If you looked at the mean, the average.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone always looks at it like individually. No, I have that problem as well. It's like, yeah, you might do, but the average, if I took a big cross section.
But I think men now, it's like you say, I don't know where it come from. I don't know why men were all of a sudden not allowed to be men.
Do you think there's an overreaction though? It's like, I find this about anything. So a common theme on social media is narcissism. Like everyone's a narcissist. It's like a common thing now.
Yeah.
So someone sees a narcissistic slight behavior in someone. It's like, well, they're a narcissist. Someone else, a bit slightly different. We've all got narcissistic tendencies. But do you know what I mean? It's almost like this overreaction to an issue. There's some absolute narcissistic people out there. 100%. But do you think we do that there's an overreaction to masculinity at the minute? Because there is people who are probably on the wrong end of being a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
And abusive people, whatever that may be in any sex. But do you think there's an overreaction because it's new? There seems to be this overreaction when something first hits a bit of hype, then hopefully it settles down to some kind of...
I just think it's like people have all got these, like we talked about really fucking opinions, you know. It's I could say something that you're dead against, but we could just talk about it. But then I could say that thing, and then I don't know, say you say it on social media, you're gonna have X amount of people like fucking going at you just because they disagree. I don't understand where why you can't say something without being fucking ridiculed, unless it's something like obvious. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it baffles me. I got my beliefs on what a man should be, right? And then there'd be people that completely disagree with that.
Yeah.
But, you know, so like I said, you know, providing, I think the old saying goes, be a warrior in the garden, don't be a gardener in a war, or whatever it is, something like that.
So your idea, what I'm hearing, for you personally, of being a good man, for you, where you feel like you're being a good man in your life, is when you're providing, when you're looking after yourself, when you're strong, so to speak.
And that's an interesting one.
When you're in touch with yourself, when you put together.
Yeah, I just think, just, you know, being there for, because, you know, I've got a family, you know, and it's being there for my family, but it's also providing that. And interesting, you talk about the strength side of things and that, because I used to be able to, like, you know, I used to bother and stuff like that, look after myself, you know. And it's interesting, when I had knee surgery back in 2022, end of 2022, and I felt fucking vulnerable. I was going around in a little Zoot scoot, you know, as a mobility scooter.
Were you like old Marge off Benidorm?
Honestly, mate, I
can imagine you with a fag hanging out his mouth on a scooter.
I was vulnerable. And that's probably the first time I'd felt proper vulnerability. Now, I do believe a lot of that comes from my old patterns, habits, and what I used to get up to. Because if I'm going sitting somewhere, I'll always sit with so I can see the doors and exits and shit like that. Do you know what I mean? Just the way I do things. So I felt quite vulnerable like that. But then if you've not experienced them things, then you're not going to understand it. So when someone said to me, I've never had a fight in my life, cool. But you've never been put in that situation. But then I guess the question I was asked is, well, what have you fucking had to? Do you know what I mean? And people go, what are you talking about, mate? We don't live in a rosy, glass-tinted fucking unicorn world. Shit happens. I want to be in a position, and I probably am more that side of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because of my past. But for me, if shit goes sideways, I want to be in a position where I can look after my family, look after my wife, look after my kids. You know, and
that's when you feel you're operating at your best.
Yeah, I think so. And listen, I don't do that perfectly.
No, of course
not. Do you know what I mean?
And I think it's useful. I don't like it when I see, like, this is what a man should be. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, well, this is what a woman should be. It's like, they're going to be what you want to be. It's you defining how you want to live your life, isn't it? And the kind of values you want to portray and the kind of actions that you use to back those up. I think that's that's why it's like, I think if you're unsure on yourself and who you are, you will look around and say, well, maybe I should be like them, or maybe I should be like them. There's nothing wrong with using it for inspiration and like, oh yeah, maybe that's a bit of me, that maybe it's inspiring. But it's a weird thing. What should a man, what's a good man, or what's whatever? It's actually a fucking weird question when you think about it. I realize I asked it, but
yeah, but it's so for me.
What are the issues you see men face a lot?
So what I see men face is, again,
what are they beating themselves up by, Dave?
Not right. Okay, so bottom line with that is there's a lot of, I'd say, middle-aged men like I was. They're waking up. They are not where they expected to be in life. This is part of the reason I was where I was at, is they wake up and they think, I'm a fucking failure, man.
That is the most honest thing I have heard in a long time. But Mark, 14 minutes into the episode, Dave drops a banger.
Yeah.
Go on, carry on, Dave. I interrupted you,
but I do. I think people wake up and they're like, I'm a fucking failure, and it might have been building up for a little while, but then they're like, I'm middle-aged, 40s, I've got kids, a wife, and I'm not doing enough. And I think that's one of the biggest things is that struggle of fuck, and then that's when shit can go sideways very quickly, because there are people that go, I am not good enough, I cannot do this, I should have done better, all these sort of things. Yeah, letting people down, and I still struggle with that at times, especially with like my family. I feel like I'm not quite where I want to be, so I struggle with that. But from what I can see, is there's that side of it, but then there's also the influence side of it, that going, you got to do this, you got to do that. So there's no I want to come back to that
point though, where you're saying the biggest thing men are beating themselves up by, and you're talking from a man's perspective. So if you're that person listening going, yes, but female, I get that. We get that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to log into your podcast and say, but men as well.
Back up.
Yeah, back up, people. But seriously, I have heard that, but I just think you just hit it so rawly on the head, so neatly on the head, with men are waking up middle-aged and thinking, I'm not where I want to be in life. I'm failing. I'm not where I thought I would be. I'm not where I should be.
And I think...
And do you think that's where coping mechanisms come in?
Yeah, I think... So I think we go through that. We go through like our 20s, 30s, whatever it is, start having kids and all that sort of stuff. So you go through these phases in life, and then you become a father, you become husband, whatever it may be, and then you get to that point. And because of how we're brought up generally in society in the UK, you should have X, Y, and Z by the time you're 30, 40, 50, whatever it is. And then you wake up to that realization, actually, I am nowhere fucking near where I expected to be in life, with all these magical visions and wonderful things you had in your mind, and B, actually, this is quite late in life. What the fuck do I do now? Because I'm not where I need to be, but I'm also getting to the not end of my life, but I'm in that, how do I start from here? How do I start from here right now?
Go again, like
that is.
Do you think you're a bit tired as well? You've got some more, you got a few more miles on the clock. You're like, I feel a bit more tired.
Without a doubt, because I think a lot. I say people just wake up one day. They don't. It's been building. They might not even be that aware it's been building, but they do get up one day and they go, "Fuck, this is shit." And so for me, I wouldn't say I woke up one morning and went, "This is shit," but that's kind of how it went. And I think that's where the problem is. And I've not coached loads and loads of people. I'm not going to sit here and go, yeah, I've coached thousands of, because I haven't. But I've
coached. Is that an impression of me? You just did that.
No, you're actually not too bad, to be fair. I actually like you on. I like you, like the way you talk and that. But there's some bullshit out there, mate. Come on, let's not. Let's not deny it. I can't.
I got Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary for you over here, Dave. Let's go.
Please. I've told you I've refrained from this angry side now, and but my 2 minutes for you.
Well, lucky for you, mate. Lucky for you, eh?
Please. Anyway, so yeah, I think there's that thing of seeing it, and it is that thing. They just don't feel good enough. And that is a really, really tricky position to be in.
I think it's tricky as well when you then start thinking you're failing the people you care about. That's a tricky one.
I think that's the biggest thing with me, was when I was at my worst, is like, I thought they were better off without me, because I felt so worthless. And now I'm at a point now that I know I'm a much better husband and much better dad, but there's still areas that I feel like I'm really good in certain areas, but there's areas that I feel like I should be doing. I was saying it to my wife the other day, and I ain't, scared of saying it. I said I feel like a fucking failure at times, even now, all this work I've done because I can't provide for them how I want to provide for them. And anyone that said to me, yeah, but you got, like me and my wife get on mint, me and my kids get on mint.
I'll
like,
be honest, looking from the outside of your life
yeah,
and having spent time with your family,
yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff.
most people would envy the relationship you have with your wife.
They do, but still, as a man,
she's quality, isn't she?
yeah, she's my what I call her my wing woman, because she is like utter class. And I say everyone, a lot of people say it. They say you two get on so well.
You always look at what you don't have sometimes.
Yeah, and you know that with me.
Not you, anyone.
Yeah, I know, but that with that particular side of things, for me, I feel like I should be providing more financially, give them the nice shit in life. And it's good for people to say, well, that's wonderful, that's wonderful, that's wonderful. But actually, that's what I want to do. And when I'm not doing it, that then becomes a bit of a struggle for me. And then as a man, that's how I feel.
You derive a lot of your purpose from that area.
Yeah, and I think lack of it as well throughout my whole life is probably a position. But if I was to look at what I actually do provide for my family, then there's a lot of people that are envious, because I see a lot of people that are very wealthy, they look at and they're fucking miserable as sin.
Yeah, and also sometimes it's worth asking, like, hey, what do you need off me? I also have in the family hub, and you probably go, I just need you to be happy and be here and be who you are for the most part. Don't get me wrong, finance. So. It's easy to say, finances don't matter, but then when you ain't got none, it's like, no, it really fucking matters.
It really matters.
So that's
it's catch-22.
You've got to be, again, you can't live in this world. Like, a lot of people get in touch with me, well, money's not everything. You're damn right it's not everything.
It helps.
Fucking art's not everything. But don't pretend that the lack of it isn't stressful or doesn't cause problems on times, because it does. I've been there. I've had less than a pot to piss in for a good chunk of my life at one point. It was a big stressor, and it was harder. Life was harder. Not to say it's not hard with it.
Yeah, no, it's just different.
But again, it goes back to there's no time for violence. There's not a place in the world for violence. Yes. Oh no, I'm sure there's not.
No,
maybe not in your world, but in the world there is on times.
I think there is, yeah.
And money's not everything. No, it's not everything. But people are saying that are either usually in denial,
or they got money,
or they've got loads of it. So it's not an issue to them.
That's the thing.
So and it is important. John Brady wrote about that brilliantly. He picked apart a bit of James Clear's newsletter. And he was saying, James Clear was saying, hey, you've got to take your spare money and put it back into things that can. And he was like, I'm going to just do us a disservice, but he broke down very nicely how it was an American. He said most people in America don't have any money at all. It's actually the biggest common stressor in their life. So just to say, oh, well, take your money and put it into things
this is the problem.
that provide you with lots of well-being is not actually that fucking useful. Yeah. He said it much more succinctly, and it may have been about a different point, but that was a general summary. Yeah. And it was brilliant. You think, what kind of world do you live in? Get down with the realities of life, mate. Sometimes we forget our reality isn't the reality that a lot of people experience. Isn't the reality for a lot of people.
No.
But I think what you said about that, feeling life drift apart, I mean, I was trying to talk about this last time, wasn't I, Mark, with Mark Ellis, and I was like, man, I felt my life speeding up. I feel like my life is speeding up. And for a while, it's been like, oh God, slow down. Let's not move so quick. Life's good. I don't want my little boy to be a teenager in the next 2 minutes, I want to enjoy this stage. He's growing up. And I think last year I woke up, and it sounds really middle class now, but I just come back off a cruise.
Oh, here it is, eh? Hey?
Yeah, I just eat a Mark and Spencer sandwich.
Yeah,
it's hard to cultivate this down-to-earth approach, Mark. My dad, if he was listening to this, he'd be fucking angry as hell. Fucking cruises, we didn't bring our kids up to go on cruises. But
have it.
I wanted some time with my kids in an environment that didn't involve a plane. But anyway, I come back. It was my birthday. I've shared this on the High Points Mind Life, and I was like, I feel out of shape. And it didn't help. I'd been struggling with my health for 18 months at that point, probably on the down low, really. And it really kicked into quite, you know, I had that, my face was swelling up and hives everywhere. All this kind of shit was going on, wasn't it? And I just thought, I had that moment, I've got to do something about this. And I think the reason I'm saying is one of the big factors that drove that for me was, I think one of the values I hold dear is probably an element of looking after myself, but also physical health. I didn't realize how important that was to me. So maybe some people, that's not a massive important factor in their life, like a massive value, but I think I hold up physical health and well-being and almost a bit physical, taking a bit of pride in my appearance physically as something that I really believe is important to me. And so because I wasn't fulfilling that, I felt this huge disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God, I'm really disappointed. This is not how I would like to be operating. And that's kind of spurred me on to, and all the health problems I'd had spurred me on to get my shit together. And which is why, you know, that's why I'm taking pictures in hotel bathrooms now.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Like,
he's put his arms out and everything.
Post them like,
why?
This way. But,
oh, please.
But you see what I'm saying? I think, I suppose the point I'm trying to make, let me get serious now, okay?
Serious.
The point I'm trying to make is, I think figuring out what you value, not necessarily your values, but what you value in life. And then trying to, I've used the word cultivate a lot. I'm not going to use that word. But then taking the time to grow and look after those things is actually what any, you know, talk about man, woman, whatever. If you're doing that, I think you're going to probably feel good in yourself.
At least better.
At least better, yeah. Like
better.
If you value, like I said, I value physical health. So I woke up, I'm like, oh my God, this is not where I thought I'd be getting on near 40. Like, fucking, what's wrong with me? I don't want to be the 40-year-old who's massively out of shape. I want to be the 40-year-old. I'm like, hey, look at me, I'm in shape, look after myself. That's something I want. Some people won't care about that. Maybe they go, oh, I thought I'd be a gazillionaire by 40. You know, that's really important to me to have this massive business. Yeah. But that was an aspect of my life. I was like, no, I'm not doing as well as I'd like. And I suppose I used it to spur me on to change it. But sometimes, this is the key point, do you think we, rather than using it as fuel to go, okay, come on, when you're not in a good, you know, when you're not, if you haven't been actively working on stuff like us, it can often be the catalyst for going the other direction, is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, you know, it just gets worse from there. I'm not where I wanted to be and implode.
As I was going to say to you, you can do that because you've been doing this a long time.
Exactly.
Whereas average Joe wakes up and they're like, fuck this. You know, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't, whatever it may be. And I think that's the thing. And, you know, especially people that are like struggled for a long time, or if people are, I don't know, massively overweight or something like that, and they're looking at it going, I've got to lose some weight. It just seems like, actually, I can't fucking do that. And I think also there is that thing, again, and we talked about social media, that can be overwhelming because there's so many people on there going, you can do this, you can look like that, you can blah, 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 blah. And so, for instance, I talked about motivation and stuff like that, you know. I'm a massive Goggins fan, you know, and I know he gets it's love or hate with him. I love the dude personally, but you got someone like that in your ear and you're looking at that and you're looking at that going, why ain't never reaching that? Because they feel like they got to be that. Do
you also feel like sometimes you feel like you're the only one?
Yeah.
Actually, I saw a thing of Goggins. He was like, hey, man.
I love Goggins.
Some bloke. That's my Goggins impression. Yeah. But was it any good?
No,
it was awful. Hey, man, he talks a bit like, was it as good as my John Fury impression? No. Anyway, this bloke was like, the thing is, you don't understand what I've been through. And he was like, yeah, I do. He just talks a bit like he's got some problem and can't get his words out.
Yeah.
You know? But he's like, yeah, I do. I've been there like fucking thinking I'm ununderstandable. I'm on my own. Actually, it's bullshit. He was like, people do understand you because everyone's going through similar shit. Everyone's got their own shit. Yeah. Kind of handed his ass to this bloke as only Goggins can in a sense. But we do feel like, man, am I the only one who feels like, hey, I'm wasting my life? I think that's how it can feel. Like, have I wasted it? Am I wasting it? And by the way, just before we go in there, Dave, actually, you drove all the way to watch Goggins, didn't you?
Oh yeah, my lads from my group got
No.
When
When you came to the same event as me,
oh yeah, that's when we were up in
London.
I had to go the day before, didn't I? I had to choose between going family camping or meeting Goggins, and I said Goggins will have to wait until he meets me. That didn't quite happen that way, but yeah, I did.
No, what happened was, Dave, let me get the proper story out, Mark. We sat there on day one, and he turns up. He's like, "Yeah, I've come to see Goggins," and I was like,
Wrong fucking.
He's on day 3, mate. He's like, I can't come on day 3. I'm not here.
So-
He's on today. I was like, he's not on today,
My
mate.
wife did give me permission to stay, but obviously I'd not long started the old self-development game. So, and I was all on 90-day goals and shit. And I was like,
No,
"Now
family
you're
goal.
going to choose family." So I went home. So I did, but I did actually do a meet and greet with him in 22. My lads got me a birthday present to go meet him, like all of 30 seconds. It was fucking mint. To be fair, Goggins, no offense if you're listening to this, you probably are, mate. I thought you'd be bigger. You know?
Fucking hell, what is this? Roadhouse? Yeah. I thought you'd be bigger.
No, it was class. it was bizarre because I waited about 3.5 hours just to have like a handshake and but I have followed this dude for a long time. I still listen to him every morning now.
You
when I'm
did your
training.
you did his 48, didn't you?
Oh, mate.
Do you know what that is? You did that,
Yeah,
didn't you?
yeah,
I remember
but
saying to you,
without
don't
any
do
training.
that.
Yeah, you and Ben said
Don't do
it.
that. Why not? Because you're fucking moaning, your legs are falling apart, and now you're going to run 48 hours, you're going to run
4 miles every 4 hours for 48 miles.
for 48 hours.
Yeah, it was about 47 hours in the end because it's 48, 4x4, 48.
So it's like, what are you doing that for, Dave? Well, then you can move for like 5 months.
Yeah, no training. I was going to run the first one outdoors. Then I was going to run on a treadmill and walk. I ended up running every one outdoors, doing every one under 10-minute miles, apart from the last one because my knee blew up. And I absolutely decimated myself. I couldn't put
What
trainers
did you
on
get
for...
from that experience?
Do you know, I probably got from it that, like physically, you tell me to run in a straight line, no matter what state I'm in, I'll go and fucking do it. But did I actually get a lot from it? I think it's the last crazy challenge I've done, literally because it fucking ruined me. And I, like you said, I was already damaged. So, but I do like that shit, mine. I do like putting myself like physically.
I think that's a difference I see in the masculine side of things over the feminine, which is more men kind of like to put themselves through the mill like that physically very often. Not, just men, but that is a predominant thing I see in men. Like I don't know if it's like this element I need to not punish myself, but possibly I need to see what I'm capable of. Do you think sometimes we feel like we're living so mediocre that these challenges are ways to push ourselves beyond the status quo?
I think I've pushed myself physically my whole life because obviously I did my army training and that as well. And like with the Goggins things, I have to run 9, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, but puking, shitting, everything like that. I was in pieces, but I carried on. My wife's going, "You need to stop." I was like, "Behave yourself." Couldn't eat, couldn't drink, couldn't do nothing. But when I did it, but I do think there's so many people out there that would just stop. They never put themselves in any position, especially men. They never put themselves in a position where it's going to be tough, hard, physically or mentally, emotionally, whatever you want to call it. And I think, to be fair, for a long time, I think it's a bit of both, a bit of punishment and a bit of actually, fuck you, I can do it. Especially when people say you can't do something, I'm like,
I'm not against that kind of thing. People sometimes think I am. Like,
no,
and I'm not. I think it's got purpose and value,
but not all the time.
as long as it's not coming at the expense of doing the real work in front of you.
Because it's easy hard, and it's what you say.
Good, easy, hard. It's hard, but it's easy
because you do it
compared to sorting out an area of your life that might need sorting out.
Yeah.
But if we're looking at, I think men like to generally take on those challenges more predominantly than female in my experience, don't they? Like this element of I've got to push myself.
Yeah.
But I think there is this place where you're right, at a certain age, as a man, and this probably happens as a female, but as a man, you sit and you probably go, am I where I want to be? And like you said, that struggle of the disappointment of not being where you thought you should be.
Yeah.
Or not really living how you want to live and wondering, is this it? Is this me now? That can be a hard thing to...
If you haven't got an idea of why you feel like that, or an understanding of how you can fix that, that can be catastrophic.
Well, maybe it's probably got a huge factor in the male rate of
That's what I'm
suicide, I
saying.
imagine.
And that's what I mean. And that's why it's around that age.
Well,
It's
don't
so-
beat around the bush, Dave. Just say it like.
but it is, isn't it? And I can only speak from experience. And again, there's that man up mentality. Now, there's a time and a place when you've got to use a bit of determination, a bit of grit. But that man up mentality was like, you just got to man up, suck it up, don't fucking share this, don't share that. That's what fucks people up.
Yeah, and I've got an idea that a lot of the man up brigade just mean tolerate it.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Yeah, tolerate it.
Tolerate it. Doesn't it? If you think about it, it's not fucking man up and get out there and talk about it. And get help and
tolerate it.
And go and change it. It's like, oh, man up, mate, that's life. No, hang on a minute. You're telling me just to tolerate it. Humans can tolerate pretty much anything. You look at a human being, they can tolerate some shit. You've probably tolerated 20 odd years of shit in your life, of your own shit, a lot of it. Who hasn't? Toleration, it takes a lot of courage to change things. I say this all the time. Grit keeps you going. Courage gets you started. And sometimes having courage to go, nah, shit needs to change here. That takes a lot of courage. It doesn't take any grit.
No.
Grit's what keeps you going. Oh God, I'm not getting anywhere. How can I keep moving forward? I think we use grit to stay where we don't want to be.
It's just to fight through.
Yeah. I'm just fighting through where I don't want to be. It's like that's why you need courage. Go, hang on, this isn't where I want to be. It takes a lot of emotional courage to go, this is not where I want to be.
Yeah.
I also think, for men, I think finances play a big part.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not a big stressor. One thing, I haven't really spoke about this, but something happened to me when I was on that cruise.
Yeah.
I shared this with Mark, I think, in the sense that somebody I hadn't spoken to since primary school shot themselves.
All right.
My mum was telling me about it. This little kid had come to our house, I wouldn't say it upset me because I'd feel bad saying that because I hadn't spoken to him for 30 odd years.
Yeah.
And now I don't know anything about the situation, so it would be unfair to talk about that. But it really impacted me in a sense. I thought, why would he do that? Like, how did he go from this smiley kid that I knew at 7 to that?
Yeah.
A lot of things obviously happened, but like it real made me think, well, I got to do something with my work.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just this moment. I don't know why. I just thought, no, I need to. We can do something about that.
Yeah.
Not that. I'm not saying, oh, we could have done something about that. Don't hear me wrong. I'm saying like, this happens too much. This happens too much in life that people do that because they feel they've got no other alternative. That happens too much. That should be something like we should be trying to stop that. And sometimes you got to look at the methods we use and think maybe we're not talking the right language. Maybe we're not talking about the right things to try and stop that. But I think as a man, sometimes finances, the amount of people who kill themselves because of their financial status, that's mad, isn't it? That's mad. I'm not saying that was what happened to him, by the way. I've just moved on. But that's mad, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like, God, that's mad.
But the amount of times I thought about killing myself when I was like in the midst of gambling for years, there'd be times I'd be driving home knowing I have literally wanked fucking all the money.
Sorry, but it's that word again.
It's just, but I spent all the money. Like I spent the rent, I spent the kids' food, and I've got to go home now and tell my wife that I've done it again.
Yeah.
The amount of times that I was literally envisaging just driving into a fucking wall. Like, just end it now. End this misery. It's...
But do you know what I mean? Those financial stresses, I always think relationship breakdowns, marital breakdowns are a common factor. Because I was thinking about this. If someone told me I couldn't see my kids, that would be a big problem for me.
Yeah.
As well put together as I think I am, that would be massive. I'm not saying, by the way, again, there's probably situations where that is appropriate possibly in the right levels.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's context. But if I just all of a sudden lost that, even if it was my own fault, even if it was my responsibility, I think I'd struggle. You add that to financial things, to fuck me, my life's passing me away, I'm not sure who I am, where I'm going. You get past the midpoint of your life, possibly. it's like, fuck,
What's the fucking
what's
point?
the fucking point?
Yeah.
But there is a point.
Yeah, man.
We've got to find the point,
Yeah.
and we've got to redefine ourselves.
It's that.
And it's never too late to change something. It's never too late. We have people in our groups who are in their late 60s, retired, struggling. Best thing I ever done, Simon. Late 60s. God, I wish I'd found this earlier, you know? But it's never too late, is it? And things can swing and things can shift and things can turn financially, emotionally, relationships, from committing to something and waking up, so to speak.
I think
You're
that's-
proof of that.
Yeah, man. I think that's the thing, mate. And it's like, it is never too late. People say, oh, it's too late. It's never too late. And I think that's the thing. And I think the sad thing is people make their minds up and you might not even know that they're that lost. And then they just go and fucking commit suicide. And you're like, fuck me, man. Why did you do that? Why? Because I think, and obviously I did the volunteering with the suicide prevention and that. So you hear things and you see things, not that I've seen anything bad in that, but you just see it all and it's like, they've just made their mind up.
Yeah.
You know, they just like, and they're calm with that. They're at peace with that because they think what they're doing is the right thing. But what they don't realize is the utter fucking devastation they leave behind. But they probably don't believe that. They probably think they are actually,
you speak
you're
to
the
most
problem,
people who've
I'll
considered
remove
it like you, seriously, to the point of this is a big thing in my life for the last 2 years. It's why
I'm the problem.
You're thinking,
Remove it.
probably I'm the problem, let's get from it. You've logicked yourself, but human beings can logic the fuck out of anything.
Yeah, no, yeah.
You can logic anything in your life.
Yeah.
You can make anything logical
Yeah,
and go, yeah, well, that's why I did that. You can justify anything
yeah,
and convince yourself of your own bullshit
yeah,
constantly.
yeah.
But it's like when I'm thinking about men between 35 and 50 now, where your life has shifted and changed and transformed, and forget anything outwardly coming in and knocking you off track. It's just that Groundhog Day, wake up, there's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
Where am I going? It's that disappointment and shame of, God, you know, I'm not where I want to be.
Yeah.
That moment can be a catalyst, can't it?
Yeah, it can, but it can also be that catalyst to go, do you know what?
Well, in what direction we choose.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who's at that point, though, and just going, oh my God, would you say, what's the first step?
They got to have a little fucking look at what they want. They got to have a little look at what they want, but ultimately it's just having that. It's having that. I don't even know what the word I'm looking for.
Do you think it's reaching out to somebody, though?
Yeah, I believe that.
Even in your
think,
own life, not like somebody who can like
yeah, I think
help, but like somebody, if you're not like, I'm suicidal, if you're just like, fuck me, where am I going in life? I think the best thing you can start doing is talking to the people in your life.
I see. I'm a firm believer in that. There is, even these people that say they're fully alone, and I understand that because I felt like I was alone and I was surrounded by people, but these people that feel like they're fully alone, there is somebody out there that will listen to you. But I think for men, especially if they've got wife and kids, and again, it comes down to fucking communication, and that's where a lot of shit goes wrong because they don't communicate shit. But I think it's having a look at, actually, I'm not where I want to be. Letting someone know, you don't have to give the ins and outs. Something needs to change, because if they don't speak and they hold it all in, that's generally where...
But then nothing changes.
Nothing, absolutely nothing. And that's generally where shit goes wrong. So for me, it's like, it's tough, because that's the biggest problem, because you've got that continuous argument in your mind. It's like, I should be doing that, I'm a man, blah, 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 blah. Just shut the fuck up, get on with it, you know.
It's such a shit thing to think, isn't it, in a sense as well.
Yeah.
Such a crappy, vague
Where does
thing.
it come from, though?
Because, you know, I'm 50% over the fucking allotted time for this episode, but it's such a shit thing when you go, like, it's so vague, isn't it? Like when you go, I should be doing better. Okay, what's better? This is where you just need some structured stuff. Okay, what's better look like?
Yeah.
Actually break your life up then. Okay. Break your life up into work, relationships, your own self. Where should you be doing better? Or what's the one immediate area that jumps out. Okay. Relationships. Okay. What has to happen in there, do you think, for you to be feeling like you're doing better? Like, that can be, just start there.
Yeah. Just
Let that
a
compound.
little thing, innit?
I think that's why sometimes people start with themselves, people join a gym and that, again, I think that's useful, you getting fit, because you start to see that, feel a difference in you physically, and that can often lead to a lot of transformation. It can bleed into other areas of your life.
Yeah.
To tap into that area first. But
I think physical appearance for men is huge.
for women, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But we're talking like the man thing here, and I think that's it. Myself, I've probably lost a stone in the last, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months. But I'm not happy where I'm at yet. Do you know what I mean? But there's people, you think people that are massively overweight or got massive amount of pain and all that sort of stuff, and feeling like they can't do anything. That's so fucking frustrating. And I know this because, like, within my group, we've been talking about it, and it was amazing how much that popped up. How I look. Not even the weight thing, how I look, how I feel about myself.
And it can creep up on you.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing, isn't it? Weight creeps up. You're like, and you get away with it in your 20s. You start, I've started late 30s. You're like, hang on a minute. Why can't I just eat what I want and train and still be in shape?
Yeah.
Oh shit, things are changing on me a little bit. It creeps up. And so get to 50, you go, fucking hell, what's happened? Where'd this come from?
And it seems so much harder to lose it then.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly told you're too old, or fed that bullshit, you're too old. When people look at me and they go, 48, and I'm like, I don't fucking feel 48. I do at times feel 48. Like, physically, I've a lot of injuries, but my mind's like, nah, fuck that, man. I've still got, like, you talk about ultra. I don't know if I'm ever going to run again properly, but I've still got 100 miles written on my board because I want to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and just because I'm nearly 50, like, fuck that.
So the battles of being a man. As we wrap this up.
Yeah, the short episode.
What a man could be is, well, we discussed that, but also what the biggest battles sometimes men experience personally. We're saying, hey, this point of like, I'm wasting my life. I've wasted. I've wasted it. I've reached a certain age.
What's
not
the
where
point?
I thought I'd be, and that feels disappointing.
Yeah.
I should be doing better.
Yeah.
Then when we internalize that and say, man, I should be doing better for these. But we say, where do you start? You say, well, come on. Start by figuring out a low-hanging fruit, an area where you go, okay, define what better is in that area.
Yeah.
Not best, not the finished, just what's better. What's me doing a bit better?
Yeah.
Because things can actually shift quite quickly when you highlight a couple of things that mean you're doing quite better.
Yeah. Rather than trying to fix everything.
Involve the people in your life. Hey, I'm not happy with where I want to be. I mean, a key thing there, if you're somebody who's got somebody in your life like that, is never take that away from them.
No.
Never say, oh, you're doing great. I hate when people do that.
No.
It's like, don't say, yeah, you're fucking shit, you. But it's like, oh, okay, yeah, well.
What can you do?
What do you need? Like, what do you think? Because we try and make people feel better, and then we actually just quash their... People don't open up. It's because people go, I feel crap, I feel sad. Oh, you'll be all right. They don't open up. It's like, yeah, because you kind of shut them down by taking away the problem.
Yeah.
It's because we don't like uncomfortable conversations.
No.
We don't like to go, all right, why? God, how's that feel? How long's it been like that? I think just taking people's issues, trying to take the issue away to make them feel better usually doesn't make anyone feel better.
I think, you said about the friend thing and that, I think that the problem is I prefer somebody to go to me, Dave, you're doing X, Y, and Z, fucking, it's obvious what you're doing, but you can't see it. Like, there's people I've spoke to and I know what they're doing. I can see what they're doing. I can see how destructive it is to their life. But you say something, and if they're your mates as well, they get fucking offended. And I'm not saying it to offend you. I'm saying it because I give a fuck. Yeah. And I think that's where things get crossed over now.
Also, if they haven't asked you,
yeah, but when they do ask you,
well, that's a different thing.
Do you know what I mean?
I usually preempt that. It's like, okay, well, ask a few more questions. When they go, no, I want you to tell me how it is. Okay, well, where do you think it's at? Yeah. People always know, so you might as well tell them. Ask them.
Tell them, innit?
Do you know what it's reminded me as we wrap this up?
Oof.
Very quickly. Speaking of masculinity, what being a man is, and you wearing that shirt.
Yeah, I love it. I'd never have worn anything like this.
We were at an event in Unstoppable, my last event, I think. and we had those people come and talk about
Oh, fuck
masculinity and feminine,
Yeah,
being
yeah,
a fem,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
What a man is, what a woman is. I won't mention their names, yeah.
No.
But he was quite feminine actually, and she was quite masculine, ironically. And they said, okay, we want to get some men up on the front. Do you remember?
What did you get?
Wait there. And we want you to, we're going to say, rate how masculine you are. And of course, Paul was like, oh, you're side go up. I was like, no. And I had a flowery shirt like that on, didn't I? And I was, you know me, I'm just generally, probably like one of your sons you were telling me about. I'm just generally, just fucking figuring me shit out. Like, I was like, yeah, all right. Went up there, there's all these blokes. Ben was stood next to me. So the
Ben
fucking
was out
law
there.
of contrast was huge. Ben was there, like fucking snarling away. 7 men. And there was 3 women, wasn't there? There was Leslie. So Lee Hogarth, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
8 out of
Hogarth,
10.
wasn't he?
He's
Yeah.
probably,
Hogarth,
okay,
done
yeah.
it.
Ben, 10 out of 10. They both looked at me. 5.
I think you got a 6.5, mate.
I was 6.5.
C-.
He was
But
livid.
the thing is, I couldn't give a flying fuck, really.
It's like,
But then I had to go outside and he had to give me some masculinity lessons. You need to stand up,
honestly.
So yeah, whatever. You've got a pair of fucking loafers and white trousers on, mate. Don't fucking tell me what. I am comfortable in who I am as a man, trust me. But anyway,
pastel.
they gave me some shit all day long. I had that from the blokes and like, hey, yep, here he is, 5 out of 10, Mr. Feminine. You're like, yeah, shut up, you fuckers. I think, looking back, I was a younger man then but it just made me laugh. And I've always thought, people have reminded me about that, who I've bumped into around that
was funny.
stuff.
It was
because
funny.
everyone found it hilarious, didn't they? Here he is, 5 out of 10. Like, do you know what I mean? If that 50% male, I was
50%.
50% male.
Yeah.
But there we are.
Yeah,
So
that's funny.
I probably shouldn't take anything I say about being a man seriously at all. To be honest.
It's just a 5 out of 10. Remember?
You know what I mean?
Like everything Dave says for gospel wearing a flowery shirt.
Yeah. But Dave is a real man. I'm a real boy.
Yeah. Love the flowery shirt.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm a real boy. Back.
Honestly.
Fucking cap backwards.
See, hacks backwards
But my
everywhere.
top was just like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They weren't ready for it. I just dress how I feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway, folks, it's been a blast talking about the male, being a man. We could have went real deep into that, but actually a lot of our episodes are covering similar themes back to back, so it's good. But Dave, thank you for your time. Let's get out of here because we're 25 minutes over schedule. And
Schedule king.
if you stayed in, Mark, just so you know, that made absolutely fuck all difference. I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed looking up going, fucking hell, I'm way over time now. but if I'm honest, I was like, I'm going to keep rolling with this.
I only did it so I could stop taking the flack.
Mark was fed up with doing shoulder
Funny, you kept
raises all
looking over and
afternoon.
I was just like, I was just waiting for you to go.
He's got a massive right shoulder now. He's just constantly raising that phone up and holding it. Come on,
mate.
wrap it up. Anyway, thanks, folks. See you soon.